Assalamu alaikum and welcome to another episode of QG Diaries, a program on Quranology Television QGTV. Today marks day 27 of Ramadan 2015, and today we come to possibly one of my favorite topics from Quran, and that is, who is Musa? Musa, or traditionally known as Moses, is the most mentioned personality in the whole Quran. I'll tell you a little bit about my history with Musa. When I was growing up as a traditional Muslim, I saw Musa as okay, he's one of the previous prophets, and I read his history, and really I didn't take very much from it. The tafsir, or exegetical material regarding Musa in traditional circles, mostly gives a history, and a very conjectural history at that. So it really didn't do very much for me. But when I became a Quranist, obviously the contents of Quran became far more important, and I realized what a significant role Musa plays in the whole project of Islam. In fact, I would say that his role is the most explicated role. Obviously, it's a truism because he's the most mentioned. But more so than that, he also has unique factors which make him much more effective to that end. For example, Musa is the only personality in Quran where his opponent, Fir'aun, is mentioned by name. Now, why is Fir'aun mentioned by name? Because the dialogue between him and Musa is actually functional on a multiplicity of levels. So, the Sufis or the Islamic mystics, they say that within us is a Musa and Fir'aun. So there is an internal dialogue within us which replicates the dialogue, or rather not replicates, but rather we get that from Musa, the dialogue of Musa and Pharaoh. So when you read about Musa, you will also see that he addresses Bani Israel, children of Israel. And this is the human movement which seeks that Jannah, or garden on earth. It's an emancipation movement. So what can that tell you about Islam? Because really, when you look at Islam in the world, Islam is seen as an enslaving movement. Well, Islamofascism is, but because people call it Islamism, people tend to think, well, Islam is actually like that. But the irony is that Islam is the opposite of that. Islam actually seeks to emancipate you so that you can make a clear choice in life, whether you choose to worship Allah or not. That's nobody's business but your own. So Musa, if you read Musa in Quran, you will read him in 31 chapters. Now that's also quite major. He appears in 31 chapters. And each of these chapters, it approaches his stories from a variety of perspectives. For example, in chapter 2, he is mostly mentioned in verse 47 to 103, where he helps the children of Israel achieve that ideal state on earth. So you can see it's a fairly important role in that project. In chapter 20, for example, you will see a greater biography of Musa, in terms of his origins, his family, etc. In chapter 28, now I found that quite surprising. Chapter 28, Al-Qasas, that is the chapter which mentions him most by name. Why? Because you can see his more human aspect in that chapter. He escapes Egypt. He establishes a family life. He returns to the cause, etc. So you can see that Musa, he has a multiplicity of roles. And this is possibly only true with Musa. I have not actually seen this with any other personality. I mean, showing their more human side and showing their activist side, showing their relationship with revelation. I can't see any other personality like this except Musa. And speaking of his link with Revelation, sorry, I should have mentioned that. If you look at chapter 6, verse 91 to 92, Musa is mentioned alongside this book, Hadha Kitab. We would understand it as Quran. It's repeated in the same chapter again, verse 154 to 155, which talks about giving Musa the book completely and then mentioning this book. So why is Musa mentioned with Quran in this way? In my understanding, it's because his personality enables us to understand how we should interact with Quran. So his relationship with Quran is determined by his initial project, which is to fight against oppression. So Musa, his entire life project actually enables him to receive Al-Kitab tamama, or completely, chapter 6, verse 154. Very, very deep indeed. If you can, please go to Quranology website, www.quranology.name. If you go to that website and go under personality studies, you will find our notes regarding Musa. It's quite copious at this stage. We're up to chapter 33 now. So with that, I close day 27 of Ramadan 2015. Inshallah, we will see each other again tomorrow for the 4-week mark. And have a blessed Ramadan.